un fatto di onore in quanto organizzatori di questo evento. Grazie mille.
Io posso rimuovere la maschera?
May I remove my mask? Yes, of course you
Well, good
can.
afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous et buongiorno a tutti. As you can see, I've dressed for Chilometro Rosso. Red is my favorite color, and it's one that I share, of course, with Italy. Thank you so much for joining us both virtually and in person today for an exciting panel, Donne, nell'industria manifatturiera, best practices italiane e canadesi a confronto.
I'd like to start by thanking Chilometro Rosso and the Vice President Giulio Guadalupi from Confindustria for the cooperation and the organization of this event.
I want to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speakers. I did not get a chance to chat just now as we were having a coffee, but I intend to do so later. But I did read your bios, and it is impressive. These are women that are not only breaking glass ceilings, but are actually making steel pillars. Today we'll be coming from Canada virtually, Rhonda Barnett. She is President and COO of Avid Manufacturing. Sabrina Arfelli, Process Engineer at Brembo. Miriam Gualini, CEO of Gualini Lamiere International. Valentina Nucera, responsible for education and trading at MAID Competence Center. Adriana Sartor, CEO of Electrotech. Gloria Sormani, Country Manager Italy at Universal Robots. Roberto Togni, Group General Counsel of Automa. And our moderator, Irene Sardaliti, Head of Innovation Services at Chilometro Rosso here. So as I said, an incredibly high-powered panel, and you're going to be able to learn a lot about best practices. Mais avant de commencer, j'espère que vous me permettez de dire quelques mots sur la relation spéciale entre le Canada et l'Italie. Pendant 4 ans, j'ai eu l'honneur de représenter le Canada ici en Italie. I've been here now for 4 years, and looking back, I can take great pride in the tremendous growth of our commercial relations. They have increased significantly, thanks in grand part, I think, to the Canada-EU Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, the CETA, which came into force 3 years ago. Italy is now the second largest trading partner for Canada in the EU, and two-way trade is almost $13 billion a year. Equally important is the confidence demonstrated by the growth of investment. In 2020 alone, direct investment in Canada from Italian businesses grew by $3.4 billion. The CETA is an ambitious and inclusive, and I really like to underline inclusive free trade agreement that is really focused on opening doors for SMEs. And like Canada, Italy is really composed of so many small and medium-sized enterprises. And many of these are owned by women and young people, and this is another focus that we are taking in Canada. I can say with pride that Canada ranks among the top countries in the OECD for its attractiveness to entrepreneurs. It also offers investors with the most educated and diverse talent pool in the OECD. And we also believe in innovation, that it's a key driver to economic growth, and are proud to offer the most generous R&D tax incentives amongst the G7 countries. Manufacturing is a cornerstone of Canada's modern economy, representing more than 10% of our GDP. Manufacturers export more than $374 billion of goods each year, providing more than 1.7 million full-time, well-paying jobs across the country. And Canada is making significant investments in advanced manufacturing. The next generation manufacturing supercluster, a little bit like Chilometro Rosso, but is nationwide. And we are connecting manufacturers, technology providers, researchers, schools, government, investors, and business networks to establish ourselves as a leader in manufacturing, innovation, and competitive performance. But we also recognize that we're not going to reach that vision without the full participation of women. In Canada, women account for 48% of our labor force, but only 29% in manufacturing. Attracting more women into manufacturing professions is critical to ensuring that manufacturing companies are able to advance, grow, and modernize. A little later, Rhonda Barnett will be with us, and in 2018, she was the champion for a program financed by the federal government, We Can Do It campaign, to bring in 100,000 women into manufacturing in the next 5 years. Canada believes that gender equality is a game changer in creating lasting solutions to global challenges, including, of course, modern manufacturing. And that's why we've made gender equality a key objective of our international development, humanitarian, diplomatic, and trade policy. We are taking a systematic lens to identifying and eliminating those continuing barriers to gender equality. At home, we've made some important advances, and in 2019, Canada ranked among the top 20 countries in the Global Gender Gap Report in 2020. But we know we still have a way to go. And unfortunately, COVID has created an important setback. The pandemic has exacerbated existing inequalities. Women have been far more impacted by the virus than men because 70% of the frontline healthcare workers are women, and they've been much more exposed to the virus. And because women continue to be the main caregivers, the pandemic has forced many women to give up their jobs to look after school-aged children or elder family members. Canada is therefore taking special action to provide $100 million to prevent the pandemic from rolling back all the progress we've made so hard in these past few years. Another impediment to women's full participation in the economy is affordable daycare. The Canadian government plans to invest up to $30 billion to establish a nationwide program of affordable daycare systems, which will increase women's participation in the workforce. And I see a very close alignment here in Italy, where that has also been a focus of the Italian government. And to promote women in business, the Canadian government has established a $6 billion women entrepreneurship strategy and businesswomen in international trade. These programs will provide women with the financing, the talent, the networks, and the expertise they need to start up, scale up, and access new markets. These are just a few of the areas where Canada is taking action to address the gender gap, and I'm really looking forward to a great panel discussion today to hear other best practices in attracting and retaining women to the exciting opportunities that modern manufacturing offers. Non mi resta che augurare a tutti voi buon lavoro.
So, if you want to know something more about how your business can thrive in Canada, my team of salespeople, they're here. Simone, where are you? Nicoletta, Roberta. So my team will be here and they will connect after the event. Thank you.
Grazie mille, ambasciatrice. Solo ci tenevo prima a dare subito la parola all'ambasciatrice, questo evento che appunto è stato stimolato dall'ambasciata canadese, in particolare da Invest in Canada.
Thank you, but the speaker is not using the microphone. He can't be translated without microphone. We apologize.
Anche già nel passato abbiamo avuto interessanti rapporti con l'ambasciata canadese. Quindi siamo qua oggi, un'altra introduzione.
The speaker is not using the microphone, which means that he can't be translated. We apologize.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Confindustria Bergamo, we are so happy, we're so excited that we are here. We can organize and support this kind of event. And Miriam is here. She's a member of Confindustria Bergamo, and she's an example of how local businesses can diversify its talent. My company was established by my father and my mother, and the second generation is myself and my sister. So there is no issue in terms of gender gap in the manufacturing industry, but it is not just us. Things are different for other businesses. So this is why we should help women understand that they shouldn't be afraid of manufacturing industry. So we are making great efforts, and I'd like to thank Cristina Bonvarsei. She's in charge of the innovation and education part of Confindustria so that new generations can access these words. And in the University of Bergamo, the number of female graduates is increasing, and this is essential for our cluster, for our region, where the manufacturing industry plays a central role. And we need to convince women that they can access engineering or other manufacturing-related studies. And there's another detail I'd like to share with you. Here in this region, we can involve many women in high-tech contexts. So I'm so happy. To me, it is quite natural, and it is weird for me to talk about it, but I do understand that innovation-wise, it is more and more important to involve women and to organize these kind of initiatives. And we are so happy to be here and to work with you and to work with Canada as well, as it was suggested by the ambassador. Thank you, Giulio Guadalupe. So just 4 slides very quickly to tell you where we are, where you are, and what Chilometro Rosso is and stands for. So what is Chilometro Rosso and why was it established? Chilometro Rosso is a place where industry and research meet. Mr. Bombassei is our inspirator. He moved the Brembo headquarters here. His business specializes in a braking system, and he was an inspiration for us. So when he moved his people and his premises here, specifically the R&D department and the management department, it is because he believed that sharing and being together are essential for any company to be competitive. So we decided to get other people close to their people, people with different philosophies. And if we structure this closeness, we can have great impacts. So a scientific park was established, this innovation hub where two worlds meet, two worlds that speak different languages, companies, industries, and research. And there's quite a wide ecosystem here. As Chilometro Rosso, we try to act as a technology transfer enabler so that technology and research can meet and so that industry can declare their needs. So this is how we represent it. So there are two words, companies and innovation, research and development. We are in the middle. So companies express their needs and the innovation startups, universities, research centers take care of these needs. And we try to promote the flow of solutions and opportunities. Maybe there is no problem to solve, but there is an opportunity to seize. There are different ways we use it to implement our innovation strategy, technology transfer, knowledge sharing events just like this one. So we talk about management processes, then R&D, funding strategy, and networking activities. So these are just some pictures so that you can see where we are. And here we have some numbers. So 70 resident partners, more than 2,000 people that work here every single day. And there's another important number. We train 1,000 professional profiles. So our partners that are part of our campus do that. Confindustria Bergamo, the University of Bergamo, which has some labs and some rooms here. And there are other projects as well that are implemented by other entities. So it is about training so that people can train the people, so that industries, and companies can train the people they actually need. And then you have other activities here that we carry out. So 40 hectares, 93,000 square meters of offices, labs and smart areas, 13,000 square meters more under development. Companies, businesses want to come here. They want to be located here. It is essential for them to promote their competitiveness, to attract talent around innovation. Innovation is key for them. So businesses and companies now are highly interested in our activities, and we also carry out important institutional activities. We receive so many national and international delegations. There are conference rooms and so on and so forth. This is a campus. There's another important activity that we carry out, funding. We fund R&D projects. These funds come from the EU, from the regional government and from the central government. The team was established a couple of years ago. There are 5 people working in this team, and more than 133 million euros for 35 projects through international partnerships. Most of the times these projects are European projects. More than 600 patents that were filed for activities that are carried out within the campus, and the number of patents is one of the KPIs to understand how our hub works. Then labs, technological clusters, and more than 2,000 scientific papers. This is the campus. This is the original rendering by Jean Nouvel. He's the architect that designed this red line along the highway. And here you can see some of our partners, Italcementi, and the so-called profession centers, job center. This is where we are right now. And the Spark building, where you can see the University of Bergamo and other entities. Then the Pixel building, which was recently built. It includes a number of diversified companies, technology, R&D, IoT, pharmaceutical, the Mario Negri Institute. This is a research center for rare diseases and drugs. It is a non-profit organization. This is Brembo with its subsidiaries and spin-off companies and other entities Brembo invested in. And then, last but not least, Confindustria Bergamo recently moved here, and there was an event. The opening event was organized here after 2 years because of the COVID. On Friday, there was the opening event with the general meeting of Confindustria Bergamo, and 1,200 people were here. Some other pictures of our campus, and here you see a list of some of our partners, the entities we work with, innovation-related companies, research centers like INEA, the International Association of Science Parks that include more than 300 science parks, investment funds as well. We are working on investment funds. Venture capital funds are very important for us. I already mentioned INEA, and there are other entities. This is another example of an event. We are going back live, so this is essential to us. Before COVID, we organized 150 events per year, 15,000 people here, and it was a sort of model to ensure knowledge transfer and dissemination. What are our focus areas? Digital industry and circular economy. These are the main pillars the EU focuses on with its funds, and so these are the main topics we tackle for local businesses and international businesses, and namely, we specialize in enabling technologies, IoT, additive manufacturing, robotics, and AI. Here you see other examples. So in terms of additive technologies, this is the LisaTech lab, so 3D aluminium and titanium printing and opportunities for this technology. So here you see the President of the Italian Republic, who was here for our 10-year anniversary at the end of 2019. And this is another example that I'd like to share with you. It was born before this building was built, the Intellimec consortium. We worked with Confindustria Bergamo and the Chamber of Commerce. This is a private research consortium. It included 5 businesses at the beginning, now 40. They are together to perform research activities together. They share solutions, experiences, suppliers. They identify research opportunities and they develop new solutions, or they explain other companies what experiences the other companies have made. So this is a sort of cooperation slash competition model, because some of these companies are competitors, and they do understand that networking is essential. The return on the investment is always higher, and as you can see, the lineup is impressive. That's just one example. Siemens, a couple of years ago, would have never joined this consortium. It is now part of this consortium, and Siemens was welcomed. So this shows how effective this system is. Other examples of events. Then I'd like to mention something else. This is one of the most recent projects. We worked with University of Bergamo and Confindustria Bergamo. This is a joint research lab. We worked with the Italian Research Center for Technology, and this is a specific lab for artificial intelligence and collaborative robotics, hot robs. So there are different entities which were involved, specifically Intellimec, Chilometro Rosso, Confindustria, and the Italian Institute for Technology. We involved some champion partners to carry out research projects and to train people to develop their skills at regional level, on regional level. So we train people locally. The lab is governed by a 32-year-old female researcher, so women's participation in action here, and gender equality in action here. This is it. Now I'd like to give the floor to Irene Sardellitti, my colleague who is in charge of innovation services as part of Chilometro Rosso, and she's going to be the host of the second part of this event, the round the table. I'm going to give the floor to Irene. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentations.
I think next is Ms. Rhonda Barnett. I don't know. Are you online? So I just want to spend a few words of introduction. And hello, hi. Can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Just a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Welcome.
Thank you.
Rhonda Barnett is President and Chief Operating Officer of Avid Manufacturing. She has over 3 decades of experience as a female trailblazer. She's STEM graduate in math, and she's successful executive, entrepreneur, and director, as well as key voice in Canada and around the world on industrial policy, skills of the future, and diversity. And today, she's presenting a work about workforce innovation to build success for women in manufacturing. I leave you the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for that very warm introduction. I'm so sorry I cannot be with you live today. I have to be virtual today. Italy is one of my favorite countries to travel to, and I feel so fortunate to be able to speak with you today ahead of the World Manufacturing Forum tomorrow, where I will speak again. I'm going to just now share my screen to bring up my presentation. Give me one moment. And there we go. Okay, so again, thank you for the warm introductions. Special thank you to the Canadian Ambassador, Ambassador Bukaliskis, and Global Affairs Canada for the invite and for arranging this event today. A special shout out to Nicoletta as well for all of her help in getting me aligned here, and for Kilometro Rosso for being the host. I cannot wait to come to Italy and walk through your facility. I also sit on the board of Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, and we have very similar mandates. I'm sure you all know Jason Myers. So I look forward to coming soon in person. So today I want to walk you through a little bit of the work I do both nationally and internationally to advance women in a predominantly male sector, manufacturing. So I'll be speaking today and then again tomorrow at the World Forum about creating change for women in manufacturing. You know, what's it going to take to shift mindsets and biases towards you know, the male gender being thought of as the talent for careers in manufacturing. So I do a lot of work to really try to give people tools to get rid of those gender biases, because I believe that jobs do not have genders, but business culture does. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about that. So we want a modern manufacturing facility. You can see on the right, that's an old manufacturing facility, and that's, you know, how women integrated in the sector, you know, many decades ago. And today it's different, it's modern and exciting. So gender equality, I think we all know that, you know, it's really important for society that we get this right, but it's also important for companies that we get this right. I think we know that innovation is spawned from diverse mindsets and putting diverse people around the table. So, you know, there's a real business call to action as well as a social call to action to get this right. And, you know, our sector is lagging. And so this, again, is where I do a lot of my work. So what's the current state? The ambassador went over, you know, a fair bit of this. I'll just brush on it again. And you can see this image is Rosie the Riveter. I think she's iconic around the world, but she was a North American symbol in war times to rally the troops and get more women into our factories because men were at war. But of course, we're more than that now. So what's the current state? Women in Canada are 52% of the population and 48% of the workforce, yet only 28% of the high-paying jobs in the manufacturing sector. And what's more staggering is the representation across the sector is that a lot of the women are working in the administration, HR, and finance roles, traditional roles for women, and less of them in the higher-paying technical roles. And so that's a place that I really support and try to promote more women in STEM. It's a lot of the work that I do. So in Canada, the sector is 10% of GDP and 10% of employment. It's really important, those 1.7 million jobs. But in the sector, women are less than 15% of senior management and less than 2% of CEOs. So if we don't start to get women in those leadership roles, I think we're not going to make the kind of difference naturally that we need to do. So we need to intervene. Governments need to intervene. Leaders need to intervene so that we can have the tools to get more women leaders so that we can rebalance our corporations. And so this is the area that I speak of most. It needs to change. Of course, it needs to change socially, but it needs to change because we're living in a time where, there's social inequalities and we have a huge issue around sustainability in the environment. So I believe we need to engage the full population to solve the most pressing problems on the planet. And my feeling is that women don't want to be passive users of technology. We want to be at the table, helping to make products better and more sustainable. And that's a theme that really resonates with women. Oh, my apologies. Around the world. Sorry, I've got to go back. This is the trouble when you do it yourself. I hit my mouse. There we go. Okay, so this needs to change. My apologies. I'm a one-person show here in my office at home, but so I want to divide this into kind of 3 sections. And the first is kind of the work I do corporately. And when I'm talking to corporate leaders, what's the next thing that they can be thinking about around diversity? And then I want to talk to you about what Canada's doing. And then I want to talk to you a little more broadly in the world about what I think we can do. So the one thing that I talk about to company leaders and CEOs is, how serious do they take diversity? I see a lot of companies create photos of diverse individuals and it's on all the marketing. You see this great photo, we've got, races, genders, we've got everything there represented, but what's it really like on the inside of the company? And I believe, what gets measured gets managed. And so how are we measuring our diversity performance? We measure financial performance and we're required to publicly disclose that. So what does it look like for diversity? And so I'm really encouraging leaders, if we're going to get this right, formalize it, have a formal EDI performance metric, and measure your company and the people leading your company against it so that you're making progress. And so here's a few things to think about. And this is somewhat of a Canadian perspective of what I'm using, but are we measuring the right thing? And in particular in Canada, I talk a lot about parental leave. So in Canada, we have paid parental leave, but it's very underutilized. And I think socially, we still don't embrace or celebrate men that take parental leave. But if we want to put more women in the workplace, we have to shift domestic paradigms as well as the workplace paradigm. So we have to use the tools that we have and celebrate them. So let's have metrics on the usage of parental leave. Let's look at mentorship, sponsorship, and role models. What are you doing in your company? How can you measure that? Look at your hiring and promotion policies and procedures and gender pay metrics. If we can disclose this, I think it's going to awaken the organization that they need to do better. And throughout this, what I think corporations need to consider is building an EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion scorecard, and use that to hold the leaders of the corporation accountable to getting diversity and inclusion right. And so this is just a generic template. It's something I've been talking a lot about in 2021. It's going to look different for your organization, but think about the things that you can actually measure to make a difference the way we do with our financial performance, because we know when we get this right, it's actually going to add to our bottom line. It's going to make us more innovative and more profitable. You can look at our website, womeninmanufacturing.ca, to see a lot of the things that I'm talking about, and I'll get to that here shortly. So what are we doing in Canada? You know, I think that Canada is a great place to do business, and it's in part because of the great social programs we have and the focus that we have on equality, especially gender equality. I think Canada's, you know, at the top of the world for talking about gender equality and putting actual policies in place to make sure we start to get this right. We've been working for over 50 years with the Status of Women report and all the recommendations to advance equality of women, but we still have work to do. And if I had more time, I'd take you through some of that history, but we still have gender pay gap. We still have, you know, conscious and unconscious biases in our workplaces. So we need to get that last, 15, 20% right to really attract and retain women into predominantly male sectors like industry, like manufacturing. So in Canada, we just had a signature platform announcement in our federal budget, and I'm sure it's been heard around the world around a national childcare strategy. And, I think a lot of women, and I'm a working mom, a lot of women can't fully engage in the economy or the manufacturing sector because of access to childcare and affordability of childcare. So Canada's leading the world right now to put in a strategy over 5 years to make possible for licensed, affordable childcare, enough spots, and that they're formalized and they're affordable so that families can get back to work, that mothers and fathers and families can get back to work. And we believe that this in our country will result in 250,000 workers getting back involved in the economy. And, that's a big economic driver. It's expected to raise our GDP by as much as 1.2% over the 2 decades to roll this out. And we know this is going to work because we've run this program in one of our provinces in Quebec, has instituted this 2 decades ago, and they are now realizing that gain. This program, it's funded, but it pays for itself over time. It grows the economy. It has grown Quebec's provincial economy by 1.7%. So this is a fundamental thing that Canada has going for it. Another thing, when we talk about female leaders, we've got to get it right at the top. So Canada, about 18 months ago, instituted a challenge across Canada called 50-30, and that you need 50% gender equality and 30% other factors like race, like disability, sexual orientation, all those things, that you need all of that representation, 50% female, and at least 30% of your board comes from all the other representation of diversity to make up a board and to make up senior positions in organizations. And this is kind of a friendly thing right now. It's a nudge by the government, but what it's going to do is translate into funding formulas down the road, that if you don't have it right, you've had the chance to get it right. If your board isn't diverse, if your company leadership isn't diverse, there will likely not be the same preferential treatment on grants or tax in the future. So I think that's a role government can play. As the ambassador said, we've got a lot of programs in Canada. I won't go into them anymore around training and elevating women in the economy, women entrepreneurs, and of course the funding for women in manufacturing. So Canada is doing a lot of great things. And I'm here today representing global affairs. And again, the ambassador covered about a bunch of this, but think about Canada as a place for investments. That's part of why I'm here to talk to you. Canada's a leader in tech talent across North America. We have 3 major cities, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, beautiful cities, all ranked among top 10 cities with dynamic tech sectors. So come visit us. Toronto added, almost 70,000 tech jobs between 2015 and 2019, ranking 2nd in North American cities. So that's a great advancement in our country. These cities, along with Ottawa and Calgary, offer highly qualified tech talent and the lowest cost. So, we have a lower cost, frankly, in Canada over Europe to own a home, to rent. So wages and rent, we have a lower cost out of 50 North American cities. So you can read through this again, but we are this diverse, multilingual country focused on technology. We're one of the most educated populations per capita in the world. We are ranked, one of the highest in OECD countries for our education. So it's a great place. It's a vast country and a great place. So I want to talk to you a little bit now about the work I do with CME and then the World Manufacturing Forum tomorrow. So CME, when I started as the first female in 147 years to lead our oldest, largest trade association, which is CME, Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. I was the first female in history, and I wasn't going to be the last. So I had a lot of support behind me to launch the Women in Manufacturing Initiative, and we've been doing great things. It's very grassroots, but it's really becoming a formal entity that the government looks to model other sectors after. We've put a lot of programs in place. We have a website, womeninmanufacturing.ca. We have a diversity toolkit there, which we believe is fundamental to helping companies understand what they can do and how to get it right and how to roll that out in an industrial setting. We feature her stories on our website and across the country to listen. If you can see me, you can be me. That is my motto. And we need other people to hear the stories and see the people. We hold an annual conference and summit. I'm speaking at a provincial summit later today in British Columbia to kick off Women in Manufacturing success there. And we have peer councils across the country where women leaders can come together and talk about best practices and their issues. So we've got a lot going on inside the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters to give companies and leaders tools to get it right. And we were getting it right. So just before COVID hit, we'd gained 41,000 net new women to our sector. And the number before that, it hadn't changed in 3 decades. So we were static. The true pure number of women in the sector was just stagnant. And we put these programs in place. We brought 41,000 women, net new women to the sector. But of course, as the ambassador said, women were more predominantly hit in the pandemic due to childcare and elder care. And we lost 115,000 women in 2 months from our sector. And women make up right now about 500,000 jobs of our 1.7 million jobs in the sector. So we worked really hard in Canada to get those women back, and we've brought most of them back, except for about 18,000. So it's time for us to double down on our efforts. We know the things we were doing were working, and we're in front of our government to get a more comprehensive strategy, properly funded, more resources in place to really make a difference in our country. And we believe this national childcare strategy that the country put out will really be a strong factor in the success of women in our sector, because when we have great statistics in our country about the people that work in every sector, and what we know is women with children under 6 years old are the smallest representation of our entire sector. So if we can get more women who want or need to work with children under 6 with daycare working, that's good for families, that's good for our sector. And so we believe this national childcare strategy for our sector alone would support an additional 50,000 working moms to engage with the sector. And we need talent. Our sector is always looking for talent. So we're very excited about our programs. What are the next steps? Again, we're working on the childcare. We know for manufacturing, it's not necessarily traditional childcare. We have shift work and things like night shifts to consider. So we want to make sure that we improve access to childcare that accommodates our sector, the parents working in our sector. We're working on that with the government. We're working to influence curriculum. We need to get more young people and young women in the sector, so we need it in our curriculum. A big focus for me around attracting youth and young women is something we call open doors. So across the country, we open our doors to high school students to come in and see what modern day manufacturing looks like. And with my work on next generation manufacturing, I wanted to play a video today, but I'm not going to. But you can check out careersofthefuture.ca. I'll put that in the chat later. Careersofthefuture.ca. It's federally funded, and it's really highlighting technology and industrial jobs to young people to make them attractive, make them think about our sector. Next steps, again, expanding these peer council networks for women leaders across the country. They're just craving it. And we just opened a training institute in Canada for manufacturing, and we are going to be offering very specific leadership and business training for women in the sector. So be very geared specifically to women, the challenges that they are facing specifically in the sector to become leaders, and we are very excited about that. So tomorrow I will be speaking at the World Manufacturing Forum and releasing our report. You know, I do a lot of work in Canada. I've had the privilege to speak in other countries, but I think we need, you know, this is a big problem, and it's a problem around the world to attract women to a male-dominated sector that's an old sector, and it has, you know, a lot of people think about it in an old way. We've got to do a lot of work. So what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, and I'll challenge you today, is, you know, I think at the World Manufacturing Forum, we need to think about a permanent place for women in manufacturing. It's not going to just be a side of the desk project once a year that a group of people come together and talk about it, but it's going to be a fundamental focus that we, you know, we put strong people from around the world around the table to really look at policy drivers and awareness for companies to move the dial across the world. We can share these best practices across the world. It's not rocket science, you know, and Canada's proving out these issues. And I know, like, we have cultural issues that are different in different countries, but I think we can get this right. I think we can have a world movement around women in manufacturing, and I'm ready to help champion that. And I hope that I've expanded your minds to the things that you can do in your companies, in your countries, to really attract and engage and retain more women in the manufacturing sector. My motto is, if you can see me, you can be me. And I'm always looking for others to carry the torch for change. We need to change mindsets of parents, of business leaders, of people working in the sector. And we need to break down biases, and we need to engage and support women in the sector so that we can be a strong sector. We have the talent we need to grow and compete and innovate. So thank you for your time today, and I look forward to working with the panel.
Thank you very much. Okay, and prima di iniziare la tavola rotonda,
Before starting the round table,
to introduce the round table. Come avete sentito, il settore
so the manufacturing industry is a very important industry both in Italy and in Canada. The manufacturing industry is going through a deep transformation. The fourth industrial revolution, including robotics, IoT, digitalization. And we feel the need of attracting talents on any level to be more competitive. It is essential to attract talents in a company. It is a key competitive discriminator to be on the market. Research shows that gender diversity helps companies be competitive, innovative, and get return for their investment. However, based on analysis, the presence of women in the manufacturing industry is quite low. So we are here today to tackle this problem, to talk about women's job in the manufacturing industry. We'd like to devise the strategies which are necessary to fill in this gender gap. This could be beneficial for stakeholders and for technological innovation. This is why we have great leaders here, women who are taking huge leaps in this industry, and hopefully with their contribution today will define a strategy that can help everyone, those who are here live and those who are following us on streaming. So I'd like to ask our speakers to sit here. We have other speakers that are connected virtually. Please don't be shy. Please go on stage.
Quel posto forse è il mio.
So we'll try to have a chat together, and hopefully we'll draw some conclusions that could be helpful for everyone. I'd like to start by Valentina Nucera, who's here with us virtually. Valentina is in charge of career guidance and training at MAID. I'd like to start by her presentation. I'd like to focus on the roles of women in the manufacturing industry in Italy and in Lombardy. Valentina, thank you, Irene. Can you hear me? Yes, we can. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to thank Chilometro Rosso and Irene for this invitation. I am here to talk about the results of a project work that was implemented by the Business School of Politecnico in Milan. MAID is a competence center. It is one of the 8 competence centers in Italy. It is based in Milan, and today is an historical day. Here you can see a picture of the event we organized this morning. The Women's Forum G20 was organized here, and for the first time there were more women than men in our center. So we're so glad that we had more women than men today, and hopefully this 3-day event, the Women's Forum G20, is the starting point of a new era. And I am in charge of career guidance and training. And digitalization and technology transfer are usually a male-dominated sector. But I could make the difference. MAID is a sustainable digital factory. It is a meeting point. It is a place where big companies meet SMEs, universities meet companies, and the manufacturing industry is present in the product life cycle, from virtual design to sustainability. What do we do? Career guidance, training and project development. As I mentioned before, I am in charge of career guidance and training, and these are my docents, my professors, our partners. So this is how we train people. We've got business and companies that make their experience and best practices available for other companies and businesses that haven't tackled the technology transfer topic yet, SMEs in Lombardy, in Italy, but also more competitive companies are involved. And we have, for universities working with us, Polytechnic University of Milan, then the university in Pavia, Brescia, and Bergamo. On top of that, there is a place where we train people. It is our teach and learning factory, which means that we tackle technology transfer theoretically, but there's also hands-on training, which means that these enabled technologies can be tested. You see 6 different technological areas: virtual design, logistics, collaborative robotics, monitoring, and smart control of industrial processes, quality 4.0, and so on and so forth. I'm not showing any other pictures because I like to invite you to come and see us, because it would be great to have a tour of our facility. So this is our demonstrators, so 20 assets we train people upon, and we develop projects around these demonstrators, and we talk about sustainability and circular economy. What have we done so far? More than 131 webinars, 11,000 users, more than 4,500 businesses, and we met more than 1,000 people. Our center was established in December 2020. Why am I here today? I'm here today because on top of our routine activities, we created an ecosystem that includes digital innovation hubs, chamber of commerce, and so on and so forth. So we've had the opportunity, as part of our competence schools, to focus on gender gap. So what are the reasons why women are not attracted to the manufacturing industry? And if they are, they only have specific roles. So this is our training and education offer. It includes several modules. There's a vertical integration, manufacturing industry, product, process, logistics, and data. And then there are other modules, horizontal modules, men at the center of digital factory, then collaborative robotics and operator 4.0. The lexicon is male, the words used are masculine, so as part of a project work, I was in charge of a project with a woman in engineering from Colombia. We created a survey. First of all, the first survey for all manufacturing industries, so made partners, made networks, and then Lombardy and national companies. We ask these companies to fill in a 30-question questionnaire, and this was meant for all manufacturing industry companies. Then we performed an in-depth study, and we interviewed women leaders in these companies. The objective was understanding the reasons why women are not attracted to the manufacturing industry. And the second objective was, as Rhonda said, devising an education and training program for women. So this was our starting point. The number of women in the manufacturing industry is not very high, and it is because of a choice that is made before when women decide which university to enroll in. This is a survey by Asso Lombarda, data date back to 2019. As you can see, 82% of women enroll all in universities, non-STEM universities, and then more than 18% of men do that. So we asked ourselves, can university studies influence the choice women made in terms of the jobs they choose? So maybe it is because of what happens before. So we should explain women that they can access more scientific topics. These are the results of the 120 surveys. So the women we interviewed work in the manufacturing industry, mainly in the automotive industry, as you can see in the second graph, then electrotechnics, and then metallurgy. There's an area which is very interesting. Their roles are in the accounting, finance, administration, controlling areas, and most of the leaders have a STEM background. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As it was said before, the main obstacles for women that wanted to work in the Industry 4.0 area are prejudice, biases, lack of confidence. So for people who took this questionnaire, it is not a matter of skills, but it is a cultural issue. However, 25%, more than 25% of these women talk about work-life balance. This is another very interesting issue to be tackled. We've heard these Canadian experiences. We'll try to replicate them in Italy. Here you see other results, the results from the in-depth survey for women leaders in the manufacturing industry. There was a question, is the company doing anything to increase the number of women? And I quite agree. This was the answer that was given the most, and companies do understand that increasing the number of women represents added value. So there's a problem, there's a cultural problem, and generally, does the company offer a positive claim? Yes. Are there equal opportunities for women to grow within the company? Disagree. Are you satisfied with your role? Yes. I like to change my career. Absolutely not. So the positive idea is that women working in this industry are satisfied. So these were the questions that were asked. There's another result that is very important. Here it is in the latest 2 years. During training courses, what issues were tackled? For instance, Industry 4.0, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and more than 70% replied no. So in terms of training, there is so much to do. Women should be involved much more in training courses about Industry 4.0 and big data analysis, IoT, robotics, artificial intelligence were the most important topics that should be tackled during these courses. I'm being quite quick. This is the overview of the six questions we asked. You can read them here in this slide. When we asked in Italy Do you think that women participation in the manufacturing industry is good, marginal, or not completely absent? So it is a cultural problem. It all depends on work-life balance, but things are changing. So all these women that we interview send a positive message about the trend in the latest year. So this is my brief contribution that I wanted to share with you. And I like to say something that could sound controversial. It is true, we should involve women to the STEM topics. History teaches us that women do not like these technical topics. In women basically enroll to management engineering or biomedical engineering, so they wanted to work in the so-called service sector. What should we do? Should we create ad hoc courses for women, so sort of engineering for women, where there are other topics that are tackled, STEM topics and soft skills related topics, and this is what companies actually need.
Thank you very much, Valentina. Very interesting presentation. And based on, well, from those figures, let us now see all the things you said and mentioned together with the speakers who are here. Let's start with Sabrina Alfelli, process engineer, Brembo. Based on what Valentina said, and based on my and probably your experience, my feeling is that the manufacturing industry is not really communicating well its significance, its value, its drive to engineering classes. What happens is the following. When we meet a student in engineering and we ask them what they want to do, they say life science, high tech, big tech. They will never say manufacturing industry because they don't get it, whether they are women or men. The fact that the manufacturing industry is revolutionary. They're always thinking about the hammer and the screwdriver. So maybe there's a communication issue with this industry. So what about your story? Well, thank you very much for your invitation today. I'm very happy to get to know the speakers and the audience. Well, first of all, my career starting from university. At high school, I was very good in scientific subjects, and I enrolled for and I applied for engineering. I was lucky because the fact that I was choosing a more male-oriented faculty was not an issue for me. So maybe, as far as I'm concerned, it was easier for other people. It is not like that. So I joined aerospace engineering because I had a very general interest in that industry, in that field, because I thought I would love the space, but I had no idea what an engineer was doing afterwards. Probably those who start engineering, they think they are going to design, make calculations, or those things. But I wasn't sure. I didn't know. But I liked those subjects. So I said, let us see what this world is like. After the first 3 years in aerospace engineering, I noticed that what I was interested in was not so much how airplanes would work and or the rockets, but I was interested in the construction stage. So the stage from the design to becoming a real object. So For my specialization, I moved to Milan from Bologna because I saw that at mechanical engineering there was a specific subject which was industrial systems, industrial plants. So I could get closer to the industrial world with some specific exams. So while I was studying, I saw that I was very much interested in production, and after graduating, I chose to join Brembo, and I've been in Brembo for 5 years now. For the first year, I was working on lean manufacturing, ongoing improvement, and then I dealt for 3 years with Industry 4.0. So I was fortunate I could discover that theme that I wasn't aware of. It had been mentioned at university, but we had not studied it, actually. And what I'm doing now is process engineering. I have changed my position. I've been here for a few months now, so now I work on the industrialization of new products. So how have I joined the manufacturing industry? It was a path, a journey, based on various steps and on an increasing awareness that that was the actual field I wanted to work in. But I began realizing it after I started working. So while I was studying, I understood, I realized that I was interested in that situation, in that industry. But it's only when you work hands-on, you really notice and you realize you want to stay, to remain in that field. So how can companies, organizations communicate and attract the youth in that field? So probably people are still thinking at factories, thinking about Charlie Chaplin and hammers, screwdrivers, and bolts and nuts. But when you enter a production facility, you notice that mechanics is not the only thing that you find there. We have automation, robots. Brembo works together with Joint Lab, so advanced automation with collaborative robotics and so further and so on. And IT as well. With Industry 4.0, we have PCs, data, AI. So the industry is an open field where all these technologies can be experimented. In Brembo, there are various young people with different backgrounds from physics, IT, mathematics, and they are working on those issues, on those themes, on those subjects, on those topics. So this is a really fascinating field. But do you think that there was something missing during your education, during your career? So maybe a company coming to the university and talking about their facilities? Well, yes, actually. How can you discover what your talent is, and how can you find out what you really want to do? Well, definitely you have some inclinations, but it's when you find somebody who's already there and you say, yes, I would like to join it, I would like to further understand the specific application. If I were able to go back to school or to university, I would like to find this before. Because I got there slowly but surely, but I would have liked to get there more directly. So trying to understand, having somebody explain what are the opportunities for an engineer in the industrial sector, what is it like to work in a modern factory. It's not simply moving bolts or tightening bolts, but there's an entire field of innovation that is moving forward. Thank you very much. I fully agree with you. And on this issue about education and training, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Gloria Sormani. Thank you very much. Country Manager Italy, Universal Robots. Can you say something about your idea of a better training for engineering or people who would like to deal with robotics, as Sabrina mentioned, who would like to get closer to Industry 4.0 in the new manufacturing sector? Well, thank you very much. much. I'm Gloria Salmani, and I would like to thank ENG for inviting me here, as well as all the colleagues from Chilometro Rosso. Well, I would like to build on Valentina Nocera's words and what Valentina said. So, do we really exploit and use women's soft skills? Well, now this is a politically correct age, so maybe my statements are not fair and right, but maybe some issues of engineering, well, they're not interesting for women. Simply, it's like that. I was looking for a successor recently because I have become the country manager, and I was looking for a person replacing my previous position out of 150 CVs, and we were not selecting a hyper-specialized person. Only 6 women with CVs that had nothing to do with our requirements. So the way they hired me, they could have hired another woman, so we had no problems about it. But maybe women are not interested in that. Maybe there's a specific language that is not right. We work very much with experts. They are working with you, they are here in Chilometro Rosso, and one of the main pillars of universal robots is training. We are constantly revamping our machineries and our people. We sell collaborative robotic arms, and we are the inventors of the first collaborative robot, a robot working alongside humans, dealing with heavy tasks and tasks that have no added value. So we try to understand the significance of an academy to train new skills, skills that can be given also to people who not necessarily have specific skills in terms of robotics or in terms of electronics or automation. Our academy has trained so far more than 100,000 people around the world globally, online and live. Now we are making a further step, and we have a new certification program for professors. Once they have this certification, they can in turn certify students. This is a serious program. It's made on the same robots that are then used in companies, in organizations. And it is true, we still see, apart from the Esperis programs with various women engineers, in technical programs, I can say that most people are men. This is an interesting subject, an interesting topic, but I think that probably women communicate differently. And another issue is creativity. Women like creativity. I have been in various industries, but also because of my family, I worked in the furniture industry, contract furniture, so something rather technical. In that industry, well, not in the factory, but yes, also in the factory, position working, maybe leather, well, we find women there, and women are fascinated by the creative part. And the message that doesn't come through is the fact that engineers' work is creative. So you need to solve problems and you need to find solutions to do things quicker and simpler. Women think that engineers are always making calculations or are only repeating mathematical rules. What I see every day, and this is fascinating for me in Universal Robots, but in the robotic industry, generally speaking, my dream was to end my career in a technological startup company, and I have a degree in politics, so I have nothing to do with all this technological industry. But the nice thing in my job is the fact that there are very many companies and company issues in front of me, and I see teams of people, because you never see individuals, but it's teams of people that are facing a challenge and solving problems. I love languages, and I've always loved studying languages, because when you study a language, you get closer to the soul of people and to the mind of people. So I think we should convey this message. Engineering is the ability to get to the soul of the product, to the soul of production, and to the soul of a development of production. And then also simplifying things, because we are all lazy and we want to do things easily. As easy as possible. I will take all your inputs and insights into account, and I will give the message to my technicians or technical experts who carry out our robotic and automation training programs, because in my opinion, the answer is in communication, is in the language of innovation. I agree. Thank you very much.
Based on what we have said so far, there's something that I'm thinking of. Sometimes women feel they can't achieve specific results and they can fulfill specific functions in a company, so they should be explained that they can be more ambitious. A position in a company should be achieved, and this is an achievement you get in life, so potentially all women can have high-paying jobs in the engineering, but they should be trained for the very start. So I'd like to give the floor to Roberta Toni, Group General Counsel of Automa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I like the idea that a job, a position is not just meant for women or for men. I'm talking about the manufacturing industry. Automa has been designing automated solutions for intralogistics for 40 years, so automatic warehouses that include different technologies, robots for goods handling. This has been a digital world for 40 years, so men and women breathe these air. They have done it for 40 years, but this is a male-dominated company, but not because women can't have specific positions. It is important, I think it is important that in high school girls and boys are explained what they can do. It is about self-confidence. Women, girls should be able to say there are no limits to build up a career. You're not supposed to work only in the HR department or in the accounting department or the finance department. So these are the main areas where women work today. In terms of legal affairs, engineering or service or operations, these are potential areas for women too. I mean, you, little girl, you could become the CEO of a company, not just because it is a family business, so there should be no boundaries, no limits in girls' ambitions. How can we do that? This is a journey that should start in high school. When we work with schools, we do realize that this is a problem. We created a specific education programs for high school students. We create small businesses, simulated businesses, so girls and boys have to think of an object, its positioning on the market, product engineering, and so on and so forth. So they should create a product in its whole product life cycle. So the class comes to our company, and then the students decide which role should be played by the different students. And a school won a prize last year. But based on my experience, this project has existed for 4 years. CEOs, innovation managers are always boys and not girls. Why? So this is why this year we wanted to attribute roles to women too, to girls too, because we can do that. As a company, we firmly believe that women sometimes can't build their own career because they have to look at reality. A woman says, I could give up building up a family, having children, giving up. Only if you give up as a woman, you can build up your career, because a career is time-consuming in all industries, specifically the manufacturing industry, because the manufacturing industry is highly dynamic. You can't take any time off. So, in order to create a professional path, a woman should be able to make her decisions without giving up. Having children, for instance, so she needs time off to take care of her children, but it's a cultural issue as well. So if a woman takes time off, this means that she can't dream of a specific job, because there will be men who will take care of it. So women can access certain jobs only if they give up their dreams or having a child. Now women work part-time, or women must accept lower roles now. This is what actually happens. There are some countries in Nordics, specifically in Europe, that do a lot for women. As the Italian government doesn't do much from this point of view, as a company, we work on gender gap. We want to overcome gender gap, and we allow our women not to give up their career, so we ensure freedom to our women. I mean, our women can do what they want in our company, and women should be given the opportunity to do that. So, for instance, we created a company welfare system, so women with children up to 10 years can work 6 hours a day instead of 8 hours a day, and they are paid 8 hours a day, which means that women can spend time with their children. They can help them doing their homework, because this is what women do right now. They help children do their homework. They have the duty to train the leaders of tomorrow. tomorrow. Sometimes I feel guilty because I can't help my children do their homework. But it is important for us to help them, to educate them, to train them to be the leaders of the future. So we are giving women in our company an extra opportunity. This helps them in terms of building up their retirement pay as well. If it is true that in 2015 the Italian government won't be able to pay the women their retirement pay, then we're doing something from this point of view. So it is important for us to act from this point of view as well. So it is not just a matter of helping girls build up their self-confidence, telling them you can do that, even if this is essential. Young women should believe that they can do it despite cultural issues and cultural biases. So this is the message that should be conveyed in high school, so that women feel more self-confident. But then it's up to companies to help women from this point of view, so that there could be a good work-life balance, because sometimes women prefer choose their job over their personal life, or the other way around. So this is what it means to us to give women freedom to choose.
So choosing your professional career is a benefit. We apologize, but the microphone is not on, so it's impossible to translate. And now I would like to give the floor to our next speaker, Miriam Gualini, CEO of Gualini Lamiere International, because she was appointed Best Innovative Businesswoman of Italy in 2020. So I would like her to tell us her story, because she works in the steel industry, which is not really a female sector. So can you talk about the award? Can you talk about your company? And can you talk about your industry? Oh, thank you very much. I would like to join my colleagues and I would like to say thanks. I am the managing director of Gualini Lamiere. So we work steel sheets. So this is a steel industry, and it's a mainly male-driven industry. To answer your question, I would like to talk about my first telephone call on my first day at work billions of years ago. And this is what happened. I was answering the phone, and on the other side there was a lady saying, "Oh, lady, good morning. I would like to place an order. Can I speak with a man?" I was 20. I was really fresh after university, and this was the best way of killing me. But it was also a challenge. And what did I do? I tried to face the challenge with my skills, with my knowledge. So I tried always to find in that telephone call, in that statement, a way of fighting against my fears and trying to answer, well, try and tell me what you need and I can try give you an answer. This is no longer the case today, luckily, but I still meet people, customers, and they wonder, where is Mr. Gualini? Where is Engineer Gualini? And when they see me, they are really surprised. And it's 40 years now. But the good thing, the nice thing, is the following. When I start speaking, when I talk about my company, when they feel the passion in my words, then they become softer. So I start crushing those barriers. So what I can tell new generations is the following. You can bridge gender gap with skills, with knowledge. I agree with everything you said. And I would like to say that we, as companies, we should host very young people to give them the opportunity and to show them what factories are like today. So it is no longer the hammer and the screwdriver, but it's a modern factory. And this is our task when we organize with Confindustria the PME Day. So it's the day when we open the doors of our companies. It's boys and girls in junior high school, usually they are 13 years of age, and my task is to bring girls in who say, well, I want to be a hairdresser, or I want to be a cosmetic expert. So, of course, this is fantastic, but I would like them at the end of the tour to say, well, I would like to be a technician, a HR administration, but also something else. I would like to be a quality controller. So it's a great success when I managed to plant that seed. So I always remember when I was answering the phone. But we continue a long time. We have a project which is similar to yours. So adopt a student. We adopt a student, and they still go to school, but they also come to our factory, to our company, when they are in high school. But I would like to have boys and girls when they are 14, 15, so that we can show them and make them love the factory, which means joining a project, it means laying the foundations to come to university and not simply say, well, I would like to make aerospace engineering, but I don't really know what it is, so that they can choose in a more focused way what they would like to do. If we manage to have them with us from the age of 14, 15, we can solve most issues. Many times when girls come to us, they say, well, I wasn't aware that a company is an integrated mechanism. I was thinking, I study as an accountant, I simply put in the invoices for 45 years until I retire, and I speak with 4 or 5 people in my office. Then they're really surprised. They say, well, but administration is talking with the other functions. And of course, I have always been in the iron and steel industry, so this is normal for me. But many, many girls, especially at university, they don't think this is the case. So this is our task, have new generations fall in love, and especially girls fall in love with the manufacturing industry. And I would like and give you an answer also regarding Gamma Donna. I participated in the award and I received the award. In my opinion, innovation is not simply process innovation or product innovation. That's taken for granted. If you don't make innovation, you are not here, you're not in the marketplace, you go bankrupt. But I think that the true revolution is to try and imagine innovation in thinking, innovation in organization, which follows the evolution of time and the evolution of the marketplace. Giving a lot of significance to diversity, to inclusion of women in boards, for example. We heard it before, a woman or many women in boards bring innovation, and they also bring higher margins. But if we think about it, a woman by nature has a different vision of the future from men. We want to live a better future than what we found, because when you raise a child, this is what you're supposed to do. It's not, I want it all and I want it now, which is something which is typically male. But the thing is, I plant seeds today and I shall reap them tomorrow. So in corporate boards, you need more women so that they can bring diversity, integration, and new thinking, something that is wider and broader. So a round of applause for her. Thank you very much.
There's nothing else I can add. We still have a speaker with us. She should be connected, Adriana Sartor, but I can't see her. Is she online? I still see Valentina. She's listening to us. Good afternoon. I don't know if you see me because I can see you. My cam is on. That is quite strange. So my cam should be on. Let me double check. No, you can't see me. Why is that? I can see you and I can hear you. Great. Good afternoon. Adriana Sartor, CEO of Electrotech. She's member of the International Women Forum for Female Leadership, and I am a member of the Italian Association of Business Women. I'd like to thank the embassy in Canada because my grandfather has a Canadian passport. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'd like to share my experience with you. I have been leading Electrotech for 20 years. There are actually 4 companies that are part of this group, and there are other companies all over the world, 4 companies. I feel like Charles V because the sun always shines on my dominions, China, the US, and Maghreb. I've followed your panel discussion, and it's been so interesting. We have just gone through a very difficult time because of the pandemics, but I think we've got momentum now. There are so many opportunities to be seized. Traditionally, even if we have never realized it, women always think out of the box. For instance, engineers have a specific mindset, but they can't see other details which we as women can see. Today, we should work on details because these details are all about the future. This is the details that will count in the future as well. I work in the metallurgic industry. I owe my career to an HR manager. He said that even if psychologists believe in women's intelligence, he didn't believe in women's intelligence. My answer was, you never met a real woman. He screamed when I said so, and he fired me, and this is where I started my career. That is something that is essential, and women should understand how assertiveness is essential. I have an English degree, and this has nothing to do with mechanics, electronics, and so on and so forth. But I have a passion. I am passionate. I am curious. I mean, I cannot design a product. Engineers do that, but I should have a vision of the future that ensure the consistency of our team. it is essential for me to understand what the needs of the future generations are. Our youth is our talent, and in China there's a CEO who is 30. In Italy, you turn CEO when you're very old. It takes years to become a CEO in Italy, unlike what happens in other countries. If you have a look at businessmen, young businessmen are young until 40 years old. Why am I saying that? In other countries, such as China, you discuss with CEOs who are 26, 27, and their vision is completely different, their language is completely different, their business language. And these young people say that gender gap isn't an issue. I don't care if a person is a woman or a man when they are supposed to join my company, and I don't think that engineers should be only men and that technicians should be only men. Compared to many years ago, the industry is different. In the past, you were born as an accountant and you died as an accountant. Now the word has changed. So we have cobots from Universal Robots, and we named them like Kevin. And when I introduced these robots, it was my choice. I traveled to Boston and I visited centers of excellence, and I got the idea of having cobots. And there are people who manage these robots, and they should be 25 years tops. I am Jurassic. It was very hard to me to get online, while young people are incredible. They teach these robots to do things that are inconceivable to me. I trust youth, assertiveness for women. These are pillars for me. Some women might be great, but sometimes they are so afraid because of their cultural heritage, because of tradition. And then in terms of care, I mean, kids' care, of course, mothers take care of their children, but the government should create specific services and facilities for daycare so that women can spend time with their children. For instance, in my company, we are a small company, so we can't afford to have kindergarten. But when a mother can't go take their children from school, we arrange a driver. So there are common sense solutions that can be adopted. We have educated and raised legions of men, and we have collective capacity to fix problems, to solve problems, to create new jobs in unexplored areas, in uncharted territories, complex areas, hardly to organize areas. So sometimes it's easier just to be an engineer. But I entrusted a woman with the task of designing new applications. So a management engineer was involved. And then this woman is supposed to seize signals coming from the market. As for my career, I worked in a multinational company. I was part of the Siemens organizational chart. It was not easy, but I've always been passionate. If I'm passionate about something, I just think of this passion. My days devoted to this passion. I have fun when I am at work, when I hear people talking of my company. I feel so proud. We have interns, we have high school students who come work with us as part of specific education programs. I ask these young people, what do you think of this company? Would you become a worker? No, absolutely not. A factory worker? No. What is a company? Well, a company is a factory, is a place where you get tired, where you get dirty. Then I organize a tour of the factory and I ask this question again, what do you think of this factory? We didn't expect that. This is what they answered. Well, it is completely different. They have an idea of companies dating back to the First World War or the Second World War. And then they have biases against the businessmen and entrepreneurs. They think that entrepreneurs are all about money. They only want to make profit. I work hard on many projects. I involve my team, and sometimes I'm here alone in the office, and they might think that I'm just here in the office alone at now to count money, but this is not true. So it is all about passion. I like to reiterate this concept. It is about passion, it is about culture, it is about studying different things. I always read Shakespeare's sonnets, and I read these sonnets to my people as well. A colleague mentioned how important it is to speak languages. I do speak a couple of languages. I like paintings, and I consider my company as an art gallery. So there are paintings that are hung here in my company, and I ask my people what they think of these paintings. When we talk about art, people do not like figurative art. They like conceptual art, where you are supposed to use your brain, where you are supposed to think. This is the key, and these are skills that we as a woman can develop. We can mentor, we can tutor people. And a company is like an orchestra. I am the conductor. We've got violins, piano, and other instruments. We all have an instrument to play. Maybe this is a vision I have because I am a woman. And when I am at Asso Lombarda, and I apologize, I can't be there live because after this Zoom meeting, there's another Zoom meeting plan. There's a specific committee for Asso Lombarda where most of members are men, and my vision of life is completely different. Sometimes I say things and they are puzzled, specifically when I talk about welfare, projects for the future, involving young people, people from our local areas. We don't work only in the cloud, we work in specific local areas. This is why it is important to work in our local areas with our local communities. Green companies, of course, our products should be green, they should be sustainable, they should be conceived in order to reduce energy consumption, environmental impact, and the number of waste. So the manufacturing industry is taking new steps in a new renaissance. As manufacturing industry, we need services, we need women, we need new things, but at the end of the day, it is about the joy of producing and the culture of doing. These are the pillars of the progress of mankind.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And in conclusion, I would like to go back to Rhonda. Rhonda, are you still online?
Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
You open the table and you close the table, basically. With the last questions, do you think we need a manufacturing-specific diversity and inclusion toolkit to help the situation?
Yes, I do. And thank you for the opportunity to just touch on this for a few minutes. You know, if you look in the dictionary in English, we have the word patriarchy. I'm not sure if that's the same word in Italian, but patriarchy is a system of society in which men hold the balance of power and women are largely excluded from it. That's the Oxford Dictionary. So we have 98% of manufacturing CEOs are men, and probably 85% of senior middle managers in manufacturing are men. So the balance of power does sit with men, and men do want diversity and they want to get it right. We live in an era in North America around Me Too, the Me Too movement. I'm sure that's worldwide, but in North America, that's been a predominant narrative prior to the pandemic. And that has really made a lot of progressive men hesitant to step forward and engage more women. So I think, you know, it is now even more important that we give men the tools to get this right. And so that's what the diversity toolkit that we've developed for manufacturing aims to do. It's not complex. It's meant to be straightforward and simple and create understanding, awareness, and education. In particular, I wanted to talk about just one chapter or one element of the toolkit, and that is the Male Leader Guidebook, as manufacturing is a patriarchal institution. You know, I think for me, because I work in manufacturing and I have my whole life, words and language and behaviors, they matter. And so women see these through a different lens. And it's really important to help men understand and give them tools to break down the barriers. So I think men want to work to support females and they want to get it right. They don't want to be on the front page getting it wrong. So, you know, that's really the background of the diversity toolkit, help men champion diversity and to help them understand and see biases and break them down. So check on our website, womeninmanufacturing.ca. Load the diversity toolkit. It's in different elements. There's a male leader guidebook, and I think it's simple and it's transformative that you know, men want to model the behaviors. They want to sponsor females to be more successful, and they want to engage more champions in the workplace. And we've provided a tool to do that. I think it's universal. You know, I don't think it is specific to Canada. I think it can be shared. I've spoken about this in other countries, and I appreciate if people share this and leverage this, because it's just a simple way to challenge the problems that we're dealing with. You know, in my own career, every sponsor I've had, from being, you know, I was raised in a poor family, a blue collar family, made my way into the sector, all the way to the top of the sector. And I did that because men in my organization saw me, they saw the potential, and they sponsored me. It's a big way we break through, you know, having too few women. We need that when we get women there and men are the leaders, they need the tools to help you make it all the way and realize your full potential. And that's what the Diversity Toolkit aims to do, and in particular, the Male Leader Guidebook. So thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts today. And I hope you might tune in tomorrow to the World Manufacturing Forum as we go further into this.
Thank you very much.
This was the last presentation in our panel discussion. I hope it was interesting for everyone. We touched upon very many interesting themes, from the roles, skills and competencies. We talked about leadership, education, working conditions. And I hope that those were inspirational, that were sources of inspiration for the audience, and that new strategies can help women penetrate this industry in a more substantial way, in a more beautiful way, and further disseminate and spread the message. Thank you very much for your attention.